Coming up, third-class medical reform is finally moving in Congress. Flying the Griffon Lionheart. It's a composite staggerwing anachronism.
A new engine to power the new Cessna single-engine turboprop, and it's not a Pratt. New avionics to keep you from making a fatal mistake. All that and more as AOPA Live this week starts in a moment from Frederick and Las Vegas.
Biplane, instruments for professionals.
The Senate Commerce Committee advances third-class medical reform. Hello everyone and welcome to AOPA Live this week. I'm Melissa Rudinger. Tom Haynes will join us in a moment from the NBAA convention in Las Vegas. Wednesday, the Senate Commerce Committee passed an amendment offered by Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia to the pilot's Bill of Rights II. The move brings third-class medical reform one step closer to reality, but a full committee vote on the amended legislation was temporarily deferred as a result of scheduling conflicts.
The Manchin Amendment, as we call it today, calls for up to 6,000-pound airplane, IFR and VFR. If you've had a medical in the last 10 years, including a special issuance, you'll be ready to go, with the condition that the FAA has 1 year to implement all these new policy changes. And we think that's a really good answer for us in general aviation, so we're looking forward to it. And we are on the 1 yard line. I'm telling you, the support from all of our members, over 100,000, have been telling their congressmen and senators this is important, and they're reacting. So right now, as we speak today, we were hoping that it would come out of the markup committee. It did not come out of there with a full vote yet to get to the floor, but it did get supported in the markup committee. So we're in a really good place. We just got a couple more, call it days ahead of us, or maybe as many as weeks, to get the full vote done to get it out of the markup committee and onto the floor.
And with 69 senators signed on as co-sponsors, the bill should pass easily once it is moved from the committee to the full Senate. But medical reform is not the only big aviation issue before Congress. FAA reauthorization and the possibility of user fees is still on the front burner. Tom Haynes joins us now from the NBAA convention in Las Vegas. So Tom, I understand that user fees are a hot topic with the business aviation community.
Boy, it sure is, Melissa. You'll see posters like this one around the convention center and all around the floor. And at the kickoff at the media breakfast, air traffic control privatization and user fees was the #1 topic.
We spend a lot of time leaving our little 4,000-foot strip in the cornfields of Ohio, and we go to metroplexes. And I'm amazed by this. I can take off at 7 in the morning and proceed to DFW in the mid-flight levels, and there's guys above, and there's flight schools below, and we're all sequenced in, and we all land, and we all do our job that day, and everybody's treated the same. And that is an engine for my business.
In this situation, we're proposing to take a core element of the nation's infrastructure and hand it to the largest users of the system, the airlines, with no regulatory oversight. That's not really a privatization. It's handing a monopolistic tool to people who are apt to use it, not to operate the system with maximum efficiency, but to operate the system for their competitive advantage.
Now what they're talking about is the FAA reauthorization bill. We haven't seen the actual bill yet, but there are some members of the aviation committees in the House and the Senate who very much favor privatizing air traffic control and paying for it with user fees. But that won't fly for AOPA either.
And by hanging together with NBAA, EAA, and all the rest of us in general aviation, we've been successful in fighting back, led by AOPA on these issues. I feel confident that we will not have any user fees on any segment of general aviation as long as we hang together. We want to see what's in this bill. We have not seen it. We're waiting for the reauthorization bill to be dropped by the Chairman Schuster of the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, and then we can have a view about what this privatization is all about. It seems to me a little bit early to start picking on something we haven't seen.
But putting politics aside, the real reason we come to the annual convention of the National Business Aviation Association is to see what's new and what's promised to come in business aircraft. And for that, let's go out to the static display at Henderson Executive Airport and Tom Horn. So Tom, what's the big news out there?
Well, Tom, the big news for a lot of general aviation pilots is the airplane that isn't here. Cessna's new single-engine turboprop that's not powered by a Pratt & Whitney PT6 engine. In fact, the big news really is the engine. GE made a much bigger deal out of announcing that Cessna had chosen its new engine than Cessna did about its new single-engine turboprop. They didn't even announce it at their press conference and barely answered questions.
So in regard to our single-engine turboprop, we made the announcement at Oshkosh that we would enter into this market space, and we just had a press conference with GE, and we have selected GE. They will be building a new engine that will support our performance requirements, and so that's the plan going forward.
But we know a lot more about the engine. GE says the new clean sheet design will generate more power and less fuel than a PT6. It will come in flavors from 850 to 1650 shaft horsepower. The new Cessna Bird will get a 1300 shaft horsepower engine.
We also have an integrated propulsion control. So there's a computer, often called a FADEC, on a jet engine, full authority digital engine control. But this control does more than just the engine. It also controls the propeller, so we can control the pitch, the speed, the torque, along with the engine. And when you put all that together, we have 10% more power at altitude while delivering 20% less fuel consumption, emission fuel consumption. So this enables airframers like Textron, who have selected this engine for a new single-engine turboprop, to really design a new class of aircraft around this engine.
Cessna isn't saying what the airplane will look like, but promised that there will be a test aircraft on display next year at Oshkosh.
At this point, we're targeting 1,500 nautical miles with a speed of over 280 knots.
And Tom, Christie also said they're looking at 8 to 12 seat interior designs.
So Tom, what did Cessna really want to talk about?
Big jets, like so many other manufacturers out here at Henderson. One airplane on display, well, part of it anyway, is Cessna's Hemisphere, its newly announced airplane. This will be the largest Cessna jet ever built. First flight is predicted for 2019. It'll be a $35 million jet with a maximum range of 4,500 nautical miles and 102-inch wide fuselage interior. And that's all we have to show right now. Design work is still in progress, but they've got the fuselage tube on display for us here. You know, manufacturers hate to take airplanes out of the flight test program, but that's just exactly what Cessna did with its new Longitude.
We are so excited to be here with the Citation Longitude. Truly, it's the second year that we've been able to bring innovation to an NBAA. With the Citation Longitude, we've really taken the feedback from our customers and prospects in terms of what they want in a super mid-sized jet. And what we know that they want is a combination of comfort and performance.
It's a $26 million, 4,000 nautical mile, Honeywell-powered, 12-seat airplane. Certification is expected in 2017. Well, here we are with the Cessna Citation Latitude. You know, at last year's NBAA, they had a test airplane. This year, the airplane is certified, and this is one of the first to go into service. It's a $15 million, 2,850 nautical mile airplane with Garmin G5000 avionics. Well, here we are inside the Falcon 8X, which is halfway through its certification test. This is the number 6 airplane that they flew all the way from France to be here at NBAA. It's a $58 million airplane with a range of 6,450 nautical miles. And even though it has 3 Pratt & Whitney engines with 6,700 pounds of thrust each, Falcon says that it's about 35% more fuel efficient than other airplanes in the category, the ultra long range category. So here you can see the test stations. They've got the ballast down here, and it's quite a thing to have it here. Well, here we are with the Embraer's Legacy 450. This is a $17 million, 2,900 nautical mile airplane, which is a range figure that's been increased. It was announced here at the show. By changing a couple of wing ribs, they were able to add more fuel and get the extra range.
So the airplane is capable of doing coast to coast both ways, San Francisco, Honolulu, with passengers on board, and we are very pleased also to announce that.
It's fully fly-by-wire. It was certified just 4 months ago. Well, take a look behind me to see the G500, Gulfstream's new airplane. It's in the middle of its test program, and what's unusual is this is T1, the first test airplane, first test article for the G500. It's got 160 hours of flight test under its belt, but it made its first cross-country flight from Savannah to here in Las Vegas for the show. It's a $43 million airplane with a 5,000 nautical mile range. Tom Horn, AOPA Live at Henderson Executive Airport.
So Tom, are we seeing any trends in the designs of these new aircraft?
Well, one thing, Tom, is that so many of these new airplanes are all fly-by-wire. And for the first time, Cessna has embraced a bit of fly-by-wire in its new Longitude. It'll have a fly-by-wire rudder, spoilers, and braking system. So that's a first for Cessna.
Thanks, Tom. We'll look forward to future flight reports on some of those airplanes, as I'm sure you will too. So they can build the mid-size, the super mid-size, and the large cabin jets, but is there a demand for them? Honeywell has been forecasting the market for 24 years.
Large cabin aircraft are clearly the most highly recommended, or I should say highly mentioned in the survey. However, we did see significant mention of small and super mid-size category as well. The most significant feature or aspect of the aircraft that customers mentioned that are important in their buying decisions were range and cabin volume.
Well, that's what they want, but what are they going to buy? Honeywell's jet sales predictions show the lowest 10-year forecast in several years. They say 9,200 jets worth some $270 billion will be delivered during the next 10 years. Meanwhile, HondaJet hopes to count in those sales figures. Here at NBAA, the company said they are just days away from the complete final FAA certification testing, with certification to follow shortly thereafter. Honda already has flight training and service centers in place, and some 20 aircraft are on the production line right now, ready for delivery soon. They say by the end of the year for some, for about $4.5 million. And flight tests continue toward the certification of the Pilatus PC-24 jet.
They're going to do high and hot certification with that airplane in Flagstaff, and then we'll be up in Canada and at Qualawit doing cold soak and gravel runway testing for the PC-24. So it sounds a little unusual. I just said gravel runway testing for a jet, and that is correct. The airplane, like the PC-12, will be certified for dirt, gravel, grass, and of course you've got the large cargo door you can see behind me. So we've taken a niche market that we had for the PC-12 and made it go much faster, and that is the PC-24.
2017 is the target certification date for the 425 knot aircraft. It'll have a 2,000 nautical mile range. Now, with that huge door, the interior may look a lot like the PC-12 turboprop, but the PC-24 is in fact 6 inches wider and 3 inches taller. Pilots have some upgrades for the PC-12 as well, including a new swept composite 5-blade Hartzell propeller, standard on all new PC-12 NGs, but also available for a retrofit. It's said to boost cruise speed a couple of knots, reduce takeoff distances and time in climb. It's quieter too, and smoother, they say. Now, what could you do if you had your own PC-12? How could it improve your business? Well, that was the question we asked in our AOPA Pilot Biz Avenue contest. Pilots submitted their answers, and the contest winner was presented to the NBA audience here.
We invited business owners and employees to tell us how they would use an aircraft and had access to a Pilatus PC-12 NG, and we would select one lucky winner. Our winner was Rewater Systems of Camarillo, California. For 25 years, the owner, Steve Bilson, has been developing ways to use gray water systems to irrigate, to reuse the water in the drought-ravaged West, and to find products that would actually work to make sure that we can sustain our water system. And Steve had some very different ideas how you would use the PC-12 and ways the designers probably never thought of. When you get a look at how they're using this inside of that large cabin to be able to take his samples and products on the road, take a look for that.
I followed Pilatus for years. I've always wanted one. We were aspiring to that point in our business, and so I'm familiar with the aircraft. And I was like, really? I won? That's great, you know. Well, we make gray water irrigation systems that use showers, tubs, closed washer water for landscape irrigation. We have systems that can be delivered places all of a sudden for whatever reason. We have mostly people that need to go here, there, everywhere, all the time.
You can read much more about Steve's innovative use of the PC-12NG in the December issue of AOPA Pilot Magazine, and we'll show you more of that video at the end of the show. And this new aircraft runs on Jet A like the PC-12, but it's not a jet nor a turboprop. The Diamond DA-62 has a max cruise speed of 198 knots and gull-wing doors like an old Mercedes.
This aircraft is a 7-seat aircraft. New again to the market in North America. Just FAA certification is imminent with the aircraft. Powered by the Ostro engine, which is our own engine design. Again, a more powerful engine than our previous version of the DA-42. It's currently at 180 horsepower aside, burning 11.8 gallons per hour. So turbo diesel powered, operating on jet fuel.
Single engine performance is impressive too. 800 feet per minute with just one turning. And this was turning heads at the Diamond display as well for the first time in America, the Tundra. The airplane was originally designed for rough fields and ham-handed student pilots in Russia. It has a turbo diesel engine as well. Diamond thinks it could be a backwoods recreational flying machine. Useful load, 880 pounds. Price, $450,000. And we've seen some innovation in avionics here at the show. Sandell Avionics now offers 200 series King Air owners an alternative when upgrading their aircraft.
This is a path-based system, both lateral and vertical, which is what NextGen is all about. And in this system, path is represented essentially by a magenta line. Everybody knows what that is. But if I wanted to dial that magenta line and I wanted to intercept, this system will show what the path is going to be when I do that intercept. So there's no ambiguity about what the automation is going to do. We found a lot of accidents are related to pilots not really understanding what autopilots are doing, or even flight directors, and especially on the final approach segment. So this is really going to be an advance in safety, being able to visualize this path.
The Avalon flight deck includes radios, flight management computer, audio control, an automatic dependent surveillance broadcast capable Mode S transponder, a flight director, and an autopilot. Simple to install, they say, designed to give the pilot the most relevant information for the current phase of flight. Sandell says it's scheduled to ship the first Avalon this summer after certification in June. It'll be available for other aircraft models as well in the future. They say for the King Airs, a guaranteed price, $175,000, and installation eventually could get down to as little as 5 days. And a new combination of Garmin products proposes to improve safety on and near the runway by improving pilot situational awareness.
Terminal Safety Solutions is really a suite of products that enhance situational awareness in and around the airport terminal environment, consisting of terminal traffic, surface watch, as well as safe taxi.
The software can help prevent pilots from taking off and landing on a taxiway, on a wrong runway, or a runway that is too short. It can also alert you to ground vehicles and taxiing aircraft. Well, Melissa, a lot more than that from the show, more than we can report in one show, as a matter of fact, but there's a lot more news from NBAA on AOPA.org, so be sure to check it out.
Great, thanks so much. We'll check in with you a little bit later. Coming up after the break, a way to help the AOPA Foundation and score some cool stuff. Plus, flying a composite biplane. You're watching AOPA Live this week.
It's been called the most sophisticated single-engine airplane ever. But to the people whose loved ones are alive today, it's called a lifesaver. The Cirrus Airframe Parachute System, only from Cirrus Aircraft.
Welcome back. You're watching AOPA Live this week. I'm Melissa Rudinger. Tom Haynes is in Las Vegas for the NBAA convention, and he'll rejoin us in a bit. The AOPA Foundation won big in Vegas this week, but it had nothing to do with gambling. A $100,000 check to create a new scholarship program.
We're very proud and very happy to be able to provide a substantial donation to the AOPA Foundation so that we can memorialize both Fred and Diane Fitz, who are our founders of the organization, and provide a little something for new and upcoming pilots to be able to help pay for the expense of getting their ticket and furthering the growth of aviation.
The Corporate Aircraft Association is hundreds of pilots and FBOs leveraging buying power and to earn fuel and other discounts. And if you want to help the AOPA Foundation, you can bid on something from the AOPA Foundation auction. This year, there are dozens of great items and opportunities, including once-in-a-lifetime opportunities like a trip to the Masters. Or maybe you'd rather take a lesson in upset recovery with Patty Wagstaff. Perhaps you'd like AOPA's world-class photographers to shoot your airplane. How about air-to-air? Or serial number 1 of the limited edition AOPA Breitling Navitimers. No matter what you bid on, the proceeds go to help the AOPA Foundation.
The online auction is one of the AOPA Foundation's biggest fundraisers. It's one of the most fun, too. We try to include experiences that you wouldn't normally be able to get.
Some more of those? Flying with Bruce Landsberg or hanging out with Dave Coulier. Plus, we're adding more exciting items as the auction rolls on. To find the item and bid, head to 501auctions.com/AFI. The auction closes on December 20th. Most of us live to fly, but some also fly to live. AOPA has just launched a special membership for professional pilots. This new membership includes exclusive pilot protection services and a lump sum payment for loss of your medical certificate.
We designed AOPA Pro Pilot to protect the professional pilots' medical and pilot certificates, and as well as their livelihood.
You can find out more at aopa.org/propilot. Good news for pilots with a common and painful condition. Kidney stones no longer require a special issuance medical certificate. The awful ailment was added to the CACI list of conditions an AME can issue. AOPA Director of Medical Certification, Gary Crump, says that will save months of paperwork for many people.
So it takes the special issuance off the table completely for these conditions and allows the AMEs to issue a medical certificate to a pilot who's otherwise qualified. There's still a small amount of paperwork. They put together worksheets, for lack of a better term, for all these conditions now. We suggest that the pilot take the worksheet to their treating physician, their family physician, or their specialist, have the doctor just check off the boxes on the worksheet, take the completed worksheet with you to your AME's office and for your flight physical, and if you're otherwise qualified, the AME can issue you a normal duration medical certificate right in the office.
There are 13 other conditions on the CACI list. Find more information at aopa.org under the Pilot Resources tab. Just look for medical. What are some of your favorite aircraft? You won't have to ask too many pilots that question before you hear Beechcraft Staggerwing. Its classic lines and elegant design have inspired generations. But a generation ago, one aircraft designer imagined what could have been if you approached the design with modern technology. AOPA Live's Paul Harrop has the story of the Griffon Lionheart.
Rare is an understatement. Beautiful does not do it justice. It's hard to describe the Griffon Lionheart.
It was inspired by the staggerwing G model. We like to think of it as what Walter Beech would have done had he had the composite materials and tooling that we have today.
Larry French envisioned a composite home-built kit that would bring the golden era back to life.
He wanted something that could haul 6 adults with a lot of room, get there fast, and something that looked classy.
6 kits were made, and this, the factory demonstrator, is the only currently flying example. Powered by a Wright R985 with a 10-to-1 blower, this big cat can go.
It's got the useful load and payload basically of a de Havilland Beaver, so we're 5,200 pounds max gross. We cruise economy at 185 knots burning. We can get her back to 18 gallons an hour at 8,500 feet.
Everywhere Lionheart prowls, it draws a crowd.
It's fun, it draws attention.
Which brings it full circle for current caretaker Chris Davis.
I first met this airplane in, I believe it was '99, which was actually my first trip to Oshkosh. And I talked the ear off of Gordy, who was the test pilot and the demo pilot, and Larry French. They were both there showing off the airplane. And, you know, I was a young kid at the time, and just, it was cool. I never thought, fast forward the clock, what's that, 12, 15 years, and I would come to know the airplane, get to ride in it, and then be the guy flying it.
Larry French no longer flies the airplane and allows Chris to be a steward of it, so people can still see what might have been if Walter Beach had been around a half-century later.
We let everybody that assumes it's hard to fly just believe that. It just demands a little attention. It's got a few little idiosyncrasies. You don't fly it like a Cub. You fly it like a Lionheart, but it's not really that difficult to fly.
On the night we took Lionheart up, we shared the pattern with a Beach staggerwing over Tennessee. Both airplanes are a remarkable sight, but Lionheart roars.
It's got a very distinctive whistle that we affectionately call it Lionheart's roar. And you can hear it in the cockpit once you hit around 200 knots. Before that, it's just everybody else around, you know, can hear
it. Flying this airplane makes you feel like you were back in time, when design and function flowed perfectly together, when radial engines were the norm, and when class, taste, and style came with staggered biplane wings.
To me, it's a special airplane. There were only 6 built. Like I said, it's basically a stagger wing of the next generation.
In Tullahoma, Tennessee, Paul Harrell, AOPA Live.
Wow, thanks, Paul. That's a beautiful airplane. And now let's go back to Las Vegas one more time and Tom Haynes. So Tom, how was the show?
You know, Melissa, this is always a great show. NBAA really does things right. Some 80 aircraft in the static display out at Henderson Executive Airport, 1,100 exhibitors, 18 aircraft here on the show floor. That's a record for NBAA. And it's all about business. As they like to say, no plane, no gain. How to maximize business effectiveness by using business aircraft. Now, there's a lot of high-end stuff here, and to be honest, Las Vegas can be a bit expensive. But our own Al Marsh has some business savvy of his own, and he found another way to make this convention profitable.
You've got to pay $300 to $500 to get into NBAA, but once you're in here, you've got a chance to get your money back. Little headsets. Very good. How are you? Hey, buddy. Great. Okay. Help yourself. Thank you very much, Director. You can never have enough pens. I've got 15, no 16, here's 17. Excellent. Do you have any freebies that you're giving away today?
Are you famous?
Yes, I am. Can I have one of the balls?
Of course.
I don't think any of that's free. Pages for them. Now, do you ship it?
We do.
Are you giving those away?
Yes, we are.
Those are really good. Just like Halloween, trick or treat. It's a heck of a lot better than trick or treating.
This stuff is actually worth something. I might be able to get a lot of my $480 back. By the way, I have a cooler on the way to my house that's worth $300, so I only need about $180 to make up for getting into NBAA. Enough shirts here to clothe me, at least the upper half of me, for a year. We got the sunglasses, we got your sticky notes here. We got enough sanitizer to make sure there are no germs in the entire convention center here in Las Vegas. Okay, so the best price goes to this guy from Houston Airports.
Oh boy, okay, relax, get a grip on it. It's now time for a breather.
Al Marsh, AOPA Live. Okay, thanks for that, Al. And of course, we'll look for none of that to show up on your expense report. Good luck getting all that stuff home on the airline, but glad you got such great business savvy on that one. Melissa, that'll do it from here in Las Vegas. We'll be back in the studio next week.
Great, thanks so much. We'll see you then. And that does it for this edition of AOPA Live This Week. For Tom Haynes in Las Vegas, I'm Melissa Rudinger. We leave you with a look at the winner of our AOPA pilot BizAv and you as he puts a Pilatus PC-12 NG to great business use around California. See you next Thursday.
I followed Pilatus for years. I've always wanted one. We were aspiring to that point in our business. And so I'm familiar with the aircraft. And I was like, really? I won? That's great, you know. Well, we make gray water irrigation systems that use showers, tubs, closed washer water for landscape irrigation. We have systems that can be delivered places all of a sudden for whatever reason. We have mostly people that need to go here, there, everywhere all the time. Well, these are starting to wilt, and they're getting burned. You have to see a leaf burn on them where it's getting so wilted that they're now starting to die.
Right.
And just another month of that, and this plant will be dead probably. So they've got a lot of plants around here, a lot of investment, and they're trying to bring it back. Morning.
Morning.
Good. How's it going this morning?
It's going well.
Hello again. We're here for the Pilatus. Well, the Builders Industry Association is to builders what AOPA is to pilots. They represent all the builders' interests, and they have, I don't know how many thousands of builders in California. So tomorrow, we're going up to Sacramento, capital of the great state of California, and I'm going to talk to a state senator that's involved in water issues, been up in agriculture. I want to keep that plane. I don't want to give it back.